Imagine waking up to find your entire family gone, and no one can explain how. Or being on a remote island and disappearing without a trace. These are just some of the scariest unsolved mysteries that still haunt us. So, stay tuned as we explore the scariest unsolved mysteries that still don't make sense to this day. Bobby Dunbar. In 1912, a 4-year-old boy named Bobby Dunbar vanished without a trace while on a family vacation in Louisiana. What seemed like an open and shut case turned into one of the most confusing disappearances of the early 20th century. Months later, a boy was found in Mississippi who was believed to be Bobby. His family rejoiced, and life returned to normal. However, years later, doubts started to emerge when evidence came to light suggesting the boy wasn't Bobby after all. DNA testing in 2004 confirmed that the boy was not the missing child. What's even more chilling is that the boy who was claimed to be Bobby Dunbar grew up with the Dunbar family, and no one ever suspected the truth. The real fate of Bobby Dunbar remains a mystery to this day. Was the child who was found actually someone else? Or was there a cover-up to protect someone? No one knows. This case has haunted the Dunbar family for generations, as they live with the knowledge that their child might have been taken, but no one will ever truly know what happened. While we'll never know for sure what happened to Bobby Dunbar, this case highlights how complicated and twisted things can become when a child goes missing. The evidence, the emotions, and the conflicting stories make this one of the most frustrating and chilling mysteries in history. The Hinterkaifeck Murders. The Hinterkaifeck murders are among the most gruesome and unsettling in German history. In 1922, an entire family was brutally murdered on their remote farm in Bavaria. What makes this case even more terrifying is that there was a chilling indication that the killer lived on the property after the murders. For several days following the crime, the farm animals were tended to, and the fire in the hearth was kept burning, suggesting that the killer may have stayed in the house right under the noses of investigators. The victims included the farmer, his wife, their daughter, and the housemaid, and the scene was one of unimaginable violence. The murderer's identity remained a mystery, and over the years, several suspects were brought forward. Some believed it was an inside job, perhaps committed by someone who was close to the family. The family's maid had just been dismissed, and it was suspected that she might have returned with vengeance. Despite many theories and extensive investigations, no one was ever arrested, and the case went cold. The killer's motive remains unclear, and the eerie suggestion that they may have lived in the house after the crime has led to supernatural theories. Could it have been a ghost or a spirit seeking revenge? Or was it something more sinister, like a family member who couldn't bear to let go of their brutal act? The Hinterkaifeck murders still haunt German folklore, and many people visit the site of the crime to this day, hoping to uncover the truth. The disappearance of the Sodder children. On Christmas Eve, 1945, a devastating fire tore through the Sodder family's home in West Virginia. Miraculously, 5 of the children survived, but 4 of them were never found. The fire left behind no bodies, which immediately sparked suspicion. Was it possible that the children had escaped, or had they been taken before the fire broke out? The investigation uncovered a trail of eerie and puzzling clues. The Sodder parents, George and Jenny, believed that their children had been kidnapped before the fire. They had received threatening phone calls in the days leading up to the event, which led them to think that someone was targeting their family. There were also reports of strange vehicles seen in the area prior to the fire. Despite the authorities' efforts, no remains were ever found, and the case was closed under mysterious circumstances. However, in 1952, a tip from a witness led the Sodder family to a strange location where they found a photograph that appeared to show 2 of their missing children, alive and well, decades after the fire. This discovery only fueled their belief that their children had been taken, and that the fire was not an accident. The mystery of the missing Sodder children has never been solved, and the family's quest for answers never ended. The case raises chilling questions. Were the children taken by an unknown assailant? Or was there something darker at play? To this day, the mystery remains unsolved, and many believe the fire was not the tragic accident it appeared to be. The death of Elisa Lam. In 2013, a young Canadian tourist named Elisa Lam was found dead in a water tank atop the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Her death was initially ruled an accidental drowning, but the bizarre circumstances surrounding her death, combined with eerie surveillance footage, have left many questions unanswered. Elisa Lam was last seen in the hotel's elevator, acting erratically and pressing buttons without any apparent reason. In the video, she seems to be hiding from someone, moving in and out of the elevator and gesturing in strange ways. Then she exits the elevator and disappears into the hotel. Days later, guests at the hotel complained about low water pressure and strange tasting water. When maintenance workers went to check the hotel's water tank, they discovered Elisa's body. The bizarre nature of her behavior in the elevator, combined with the fact that she ended up in a water tank, has led to a host of theories about what really happened. Some believe she was suffering from a mental health crisis or that she was under the influence of drugs, while others suggest foul play, pointing to the hotel's dark history of crime and tragedy. Some theories even point to paranormal explanations, claiming that Elisa's death was somehow connected to the hotel's notorious past. The Cecil Hotel has been linked to several high-profile deaths, including those of serial killer Richard Ramirez and Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. Despite investigations, the cause of Elisa Lam's death remains a mystery, and the strange elevator footage has continued to haunt those who have watched it. Was it a tragic accident, or was there something more sinister at play? The mysterious disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa, the powerful and controversial president of the Teamsters Union, disappeared on July 30, 1975, and has never been seen again. Hoffa was last seen outside the Matcha's Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan, where he was supposed to meet with two mobsters, Tony Giacalone and Anthony Provenzano. Despite extensive investigations, no clear evidence has ever emerged about what happened to Hoffa, leading to numerous theories about his fate. The most popular theory is that Hoffa was murdered by the mob due to his attempts to regain control of the Teamsters and his perceived threat to their operations. Hoffa had been involved in organized crime for years, and his disappearance was seen as a move to silence him once and for all. Some believe Hoffa's body was disposed of in a nearby landfill or buried under the cement foundation of a sports stadium. Another theory suggests that Hoffa may have been hidden in a remote location, and his death was covered up by those close to him. In the years since his disappearance, multiple individuals have claimed to know Hoffa's fate, but none of these claims have been substantiated. Despite the FBI's extensive efforts, including interviews with known mob figures, Hoffa's body has never been found, and his disappearance remains one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. His case was even featured in movies and books, with many people still wondering if Hoffa's body will ever be discovered, or if his fate will remain a secret forever. The Zodiac Killer's identity. The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous and elusive serial killers in history. Between the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac murdered at least 5 people in Northern California, sending cryptic letters to local newspapers taunting the police and claiming responsibility for several more deaths. The killer's first known victims were high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, who were shot and killed on December 20, 1968. Over the next year, the Zodiac would go on to kill 2 more young people, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Majou, at a remote lover's lane. What makes the Zodiac case particularly unsettling is the killer's bizarre communications with the media and law enforcement. In his letters, the Zodiac often included ciphers and riddles that he claimed would reveal his true identity. Despite numerous attempts by police and cryptographers to crack these codes, many of the Zodiac's messages remain unsolved. Some of the killer's letters also contained disturbing details about his crimes, including threats to kill more people, and he even called into a radio show to taunt the public. Over the years, several suspects have been named in connection with the Zodiac murders, but no conclusive evidence has ever linked any of them to the crimes. The disappearance of Flight MH370. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 disappeared from radar screens while en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The flight, carrying 239 people, vanished without a trace in the middle of the night, sparking one of the most extensive and costly search operations in aviation history. Despite the efforts of several countries and agencies, including the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, the plane's wreckage was not discovered until years later. The search focused on an area of the southern Indian Ocean, but the majority of the plane remains unaccounted for. Several pieces of the plane's debris were found washed up on islands in the Indian Ocean, but the main body of the aircraft, along with the flight data and cockpit voice recorders, has never been found. This has led to several theories about what might have happened. One theory suggests that the plane's disappearance was the result of a catastrophic mechanical failure or fire, which disabled the aircraft's communication systems. Another theory posits that the plane was deliberately diverted by one of the crew members, possibly the pilot, though no definitive evidence has been found to support this. Some theories even suggest that the plane may have been hijacked, while others have considered the possibility of a more bizarre explanation, such as the involvement of aliens or a military cover-up. Investigators have scrutinized the pilots' backgrounds and personal lives, but no solid motive has ever been established. As of now, the disappearance of Flight MH370 remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in modern aviation, with many questions still unanswered. What happened to the flight? Where is the rest of the plane? And why was it lost in such an inexplicable way? The mysterious Taos hum. For decades, residents of Taos, New Mexico, have been disturbed by a low-frequency hum that seems to emanate from nowhere. Known as the Taos hum, this mysterious sound has been heard by many locals, but strangely, not by everyone. The hum is described as a deep, droning noise, similar to the sound of a distant truck engine idling. Despite numerous investigations, no one has ever been able to determine the source of the sound, and it remains one of the most puzzling acoustic anomalies in the world. In 1993, the phenomenon gained national attention when a study by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, found that about 2% of the population of Taos could hear the hum, but there was no measurable sound that could explain it. The residents who reported hearing the hum often described it as incredibly annoying and persistent, disrupting their daily lives and even leading some to experience sleep deprivation and mental health issues. Several theories have been proposed to explain the Taos hum, ranging from environmental causes, such as electromagnetic radiation or high-voltage power lines, to psychological explanations, such as mass hysteria or tinnitus. Some even suggest that the hum is a result of secret government experiments or underground military activity. The disappearance of the Roanoke colony. In 1587, a group of English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina, to establish a new colony. Led by John White, the group of men, women, and children quickly faced harsh conditions. White, who had been appointed governor of the colony, soon had to return to England for supplies. He left behind his family and the rest of the settlers, promising to return quickly. But when White finally came back to Roanoke 3 years later in 1590, he found the colony completely abandoned. There was no trace of the settlers except for the word Croatoan carved into a post and the letters CRO carved into a tree. What happened to the settlers of Roanoke remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Some believe that the settlers were absorbed into nearby Native American tribes, while others think they were wiped out by disease, starvation, or attacks from hostile tribes. The word Croatoan suggests that they may have attempted to move to an island further south, but no definitive evidence has ever been found. Archaeological digs have unearthed items from the time period, but none have proven the fate of the missing settlers. Various theories about the disappearance of the Roanoke colony have emerged over the centuries, but none have been conclusively proven. Was it a tragedy of isolation and neglect, or something more sinister? The mystery of what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke continues to captivate historians and adventurers alike, with many hoping that someday new evidence will shed light on this centuries-old enigma. The legend of the lost city of Atlantis. The legend of Atlantis, a mythical island civilization described by the Greek philosopher Plato, has captured the imagination of adventurers and historians for centuries. According to Plato's dialogues, Atlantis was a powerful and technologically advanced civilization that existed around 9,000 years before his time. The island was said to be located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, modern-day Strait of Gibraltar, and was home to a people who lived in prosperity and harmony with the earth. However, due to their growing arrogance and greed, gods decided to punish them by sinking the entire island into the sea in a single day and night of catastrophic events. Despite Plato's detailed description of Atlantis, no evidence has ever been found to prove its existence. Over the years, many theories have arisen, suggesting that Atlantis might have been based on real places, such as the Minoan civilization, which experienced a catastrophic volcanic eruption on 1610 BC, the island of Thera, modern-day Santorini, around 1600 BC. Some scholars believe that Plato's account may have been a metaphor for the rise and fall of civilizations, rather than a factual history. Other theories suggest that Atlantis could have been located in the Caribbean, the Antarctic, or even the Mediterranean, with various underwater ruins and structures proposed as evidence. There are also claims of sightings of Atlantis-like places, but none have been definitively identified as the lost city described by Plato. The idea of Atlantis has also been heavily popularized in fiction and films, further mystifying its true nature. The mystery of Atlantis persists as one of the greatest unsolved questions in history, with countless explorers, archaeologists, and treasure hunters still searching for signs of this legendary lost city, hoping to uncover the truth behind the myth. The mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, set off on an expedition in the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. The group was supposed to be on a routine hike, but when they failed to return, a search party was sent to locate them. What they found shocked the world. The hikers' tent had been slashed open from the inside, and their bodies were discovered scattered around the site, some without shoes, others missing clothing, and one victim had a bizarrely severe head injury. Several of the hikers also had internal injuries, but no external wounds, and one woman was found with her tongue removed. The investigation into their deaths concluded that they died from a compelling force, but did not offer an explanation for what that force might have been. Over the years, theories about the Dyatlov Pass incident have ranged from the plausible to the paranormal. Some have suggested that the hikers fell victim to a freak avalanche, which could explain their panicked escape from the tent and the injuries sustained. Others have speculated that they were attacked by a wild animal, or possibly by local indigenous people known as the Mansi. Some even think the deaths were the result of a secret military experiment or a UFO encounter. However, none of these theories have been proven, and the mystery remains unsolved. The Dyatlov Pass incident has become a subject of intense speculation and debate, inspiring documentaries, books, and movies. Despite the passage of decades, the case continues to baffle experts, and the question remains: what happened to the hikers on that fateful night in the Ural Mountains? Until new evidence comes to light, the Dyatlov Pass will remain one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in modern history. If you want to keep unraveling more of history's greatest mysteries, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive.